So I just came up with the idea to do these, y'all, um, because I know that people like talking about music, and I know that y'all generally don't get to have these kind of or be privy to these conversations. I I realized whenever I took my break from playing music, right? When I took my break from playing music, I realized how blessed I was for having access to being backstage and having access to all these relationships that I've been having over the years. It's just a blessing to actually be able to sit down and talk about music and life with guys who you see on stage. You know, like I really wish I need to try to get in touch with my friends Tuck and Patty because they were awesome. I used to play festivals and I used to always run into them uh, all the time, and the wisdom that they would impart is just it's crazy. So I'm like, how cool would it be just to give y'all the opportunity to just be a fly on the wall? How many times have you said, "I would love to be a fly on the wall," and uh, and hear the conversations? Well, you get to be a fly on the wall. I should call it fly on the wall, but I'm calling it all things music because it's all things music. I mean, life is music. Music is life. It goes both ways, you know. Um, but yeah, Tuck and Patty, man, I sat down with them one time at this festival, and Patty was like, "Look, you do a really great job." She's like, "You do a really great job." She said, and the thing is, she said, the more successful you get, the shorter your shows are gonna be. Like, what? She's like, the more successful you get, the shorter your shows are gonna be. I was like, really? I say, explain. She's like, well, because we at the time we were talking about how I do my set and how I see how much time I have, and within that amount of time, I take the people on a ride, right? So I go in there and I know when to peak, and I always want to leave them at a peak and then leave them wanting more. The worst thing to do as an artist is to make people hoping that you stop. It's just to wear out your welcome. So we were talking about that and about how to gauge it and stuff like that. And she says, well, when you start off, you play in 3 and 4 hour shows. You get a little bit more successful, then you start playing 2 hour shows. Then you get another bump in your success, and now you're playing, 45 to 75 minute shows. Then you get a little bit more successful, and now you're playing 30-minute shows. And then you get to another level in which, Mark, where you at? Let me hit you up, Mark. Come on now, bro. Then you get to another level where you're only going to play for a few minutes. And she's like, if you don't, okay, Mark, come on, give me the invite, babe. Give me the invite. Let me see. There you go. Bam. Bam. She said, so what happens is then you get to the point to where you're really famous and you only have like 3 minutes and 51 seconds. And then right before you go on, hey, babe. And then right before you go on at 3 minutes and 51 seconds, they say, hey, by the way, we need you to cut it down to 3 minutes and 31 seconds or 3 minutes and 15 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be able to get up and take your audience on the trip that you want to take them on in the time allotted. And the more successful you get, the less time you'll have sometimes, is what she was basically saying. Ah, shoot. Sorry about that, Mark. That was on me. Okay, so I should be able to add you now. It's adding. Do you see it, Mark? So that's really, really it's just really, really cool because and I found that to be true because whenever I first started, I was playing 4 hour gigs. And now I'm playing 2 hour gigs with some 45-minute gigs. And then sometimes, I've been on shows where we've played like 30 minutes, 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, you don't have no warm up time. You know, I've been on shows because I've maximized I've learned how to do track shows. So I've had situations where I got to do like one or two songs, and I've had to go in there and kill it. And you know, you just got to learn how to do that. So I learned about that concept from the relationships that I had.
So I hear you dropping some wisdom over there. Let me get in on that.
Yes, sir. You know, hey, I had to do something while I wait for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hey,
I,
yes, sir. Exactly. All right. So we're first of all, hello everybody. This is my man right here, Big Sean. We go way back. I'm sure people, if they don't know, they should know. You
yeah, I didn't
family
tell
to
him
me. I'm
yet.
good.
I was waiting.
So,
I was waiting.
well, go ahead. It's all you. It's your world. I'm
Okay,
doing that.
first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I need to introduce to you the world famous Fant Meister, Mark Whitfield Sr., because now he has a junior and he also has Davis, who
Yes,
are
indeed.
playing with him on tours, the Whitfield band, whenever they show up. But listen, Mark Whitfield, man, he's a phenomenal guitar player. And Mark, I want to just like go from the beginning with you, bro. Like after
Okay.
we get the introductions together, we'll take it.
Mhm.
And this is real laid back. It ain't like all official and everything. We just do what we
It's
do.
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
So tell us about the first time you remember meeting me.
Oh, I would be at the house that you shared with George Fontanet in Baton
Yeah.
Rouge. I came by the house with Donald, and I'm pretty sure it was just me and Donald that came by. Maybe Roland, Garen, we came by there for rehearsal.
Yeah.
And that's when we first met. I was just moving into Baton Rouge at that time, so I really didn't know. I didn't know anyone or what was going on. I didn't really know anything about Louisiana music.
Right.
I had no idea that you were Louisiana music royalty. I didn't know what that was. So you were just a cool brother living at going to Southern University, playing drums, singing, doing your thing, And so over the coming months, we got to be good friends. You, me, and George, Donald, and Roland Guerin, and Sean Gary, and we
And
spent.
Troy.
And Troy Davis, of course, and my ex-brother-in-law, and anybody else who was around then. Like we kind of became a big extended family. We all were sort of under
Brian
Alvin
Blade.
Baptiste's umbrella at Southern University. Even though I wasn't in school there, we were all kind of under his musical umbrella, and we were all kind of the same age, just trying to figure out how to make this music, whatever music that was, our own, and how to make our mark in the world that way. And for me, coming from a completely different world, having been born and raised in New York and having just moved there, it was really, the relationship that you and I had and that we had together as a collective was really important, because that became my family, my extended family, and from there, I could spread my wings. And so I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the history of our African American experience from y'all perspective. I learned a lot about music. I learned a lot about camaraderie. We did a lot of crazy things, and all of those were learning and growing experiences. I could still see us sweating on the basketball court, or
right.
or making fun of George for cooking a rabbit and basting it in mayonnaise. Like I can see those things like they just happened, and so they made an indelible mark, in my mind and a stamp on my life that I'm grateful for. So that's why whenever your name comes up, I always smile ear to ear, because we have so many great memories and so much history.
Yeah.
And so I can't thank you enough for all that.
Hey, bro, how about the fact that Mark Whitfield was the first one that we knew who had the air Huaraches?
Wow! Right.
Yeah. Hey, see, because Mark was a touring musician, so Mark was everywhere, and and from the polka dot suits, the big old shoulder pads, polka dot suits.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Man, I just pulled up an old photograph the other day of me standing outside that I got lifted. I got a lift kit put on the airline highway.
Wait, you broke up. Say what you said. Standing outside of you what?
I just saw a photograph the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact, of me standing next to my Pathfinder. When I first moved there, I got the giant wheels, and I got a lift kit on there. I was like, I'm an official Baton Rouge citizen. I got my truck lifted up. Man, I did it all.
That's fire. That's the red one.
Bright red Pathfinder. That's right, buddy.
Bright red. I was like, what you say? So yeah, so Mark, and so the Air Hirachis came back, bro.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, I see all these kids now at the mall of the day, and I see them fighting over, those in the air. Scott, check out my new Jordans. I was like, well, actually, I wore those in 1988.
88. Yeah, I got those when they came out. Sure did.
Yeah,
Sure
when Jordan was still playing. So I am not paying $200 for those now.
Not even. Not even.
Hey, they were great. So if they got to bring something back, bring those back,
I'm not mad at them, you know what I'm saying? But I ain't buying.
Yeah. If you see me on a basketball court, I'm looking for my seat. That's what I
Okay. That was fine. I hear you.
Hey, you got me? Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
So what happened?
All right. There we are. I'm not really sure, but let's just move forward.
moving forward. Okay, so Mark, so you start playing guitar when?
When I was 7 years old. My brothers all served in Vietnam, and one of my brothers David in particular, was a fan of blues guitar. So for a homecoming present, my sister Faye bought him a guitar. David couldn't play a lick, but he was my hero. David was the brother at the time that I was closest to, and so he gave it to me for my 7th birthday. And I must have held it in such a way that led my parents to believe I had some talent. So my mom took me to a local music store, started me some lessons. And then the next year I started, or a year or two later, I started playing instruments in schools, alto saxophone in band, the upright bass in the orchestra. And then eventually the guitar in the jazz band. I did it all as a hobby. I'm the only musician in my family, so I certainly had no intention of becoming a musician.
You're the only one?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm from older than me. On my mom's side, I'm related to to Gregory and Maurice Hines. But outside of that, though, my parents played a little bit for fun. But and like I said, my brother David, he wanted to play. My sister was a pretty good classical violinist in school, but she became a stockbroker. My 2 older brothers became lawyers, and David was a police lieutenant. And then there's me. And I was on track to go. I had a scholarship to attend Georgetown University, and I was going to pursue a career in medicine. And I had a scholarship at the same time to attend the Berklee College of Music. And so I graduated.
Wait, hold on. Uh-huh. So you were gonna go and be a doctor?
Mm-hmm.
So you smart. So you smart?
No, I was just clever. There's a big difference. I was around lots of smart people. I know the difference. I had a good memory, and I was a quick study. So I graduated.
That's that whole music thing.
Yeah, I graduated a year early from high school, and I convinced my parents to let me go to Berklee as an experiment. And if it did, under the umbrella, if it didn't work out, then I would transfer and go, my scholarship, go to Georgetown or someplace else to study something.
Now, how old were you?
I was 16.
See, that's what people are missing. So see, whenever you start talking, people could be like, okay, so you're like 18 years old and you wrote, no, sir.
I was 16. Yeah.
16.
Yeah, so
you were smart.
Yeah, I was smart enough. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you're not yet Berklee.
So September of very fortunate to get to Boston at a time when Berklee was in the transition phase. Musicians like Donald Harrison and Branford Marsalis and Wallace Roney, and Greg Osby, Tommy Campbell, Kevin Eubanks, people like that, Jeff Watts, were just leaving, but they had set the tone for a new generation for the next generation, the talented young musicians who were interested in playing jazz to have a forum, because jazz had sort of disappeared from the from mainstream popular culture and press and so forth in the 70s and 80s. Jazz has never been, has been long removed from popular music. So there was really, so we it didn't really matter how good you were. There wasn't necessarily a huge marketplace for jazz. But they were setting the stage for that. The original Young Lions was a record that featured Wynton and Branford and Bobby McFerrin. And I was part of the second wave of that. So when I finished, I was able to convince my parents to let me stay at Berklee because, after my first semester, my scholarship was extended because you had to have your scholarship reviewed every semester. And although I was horrible, trust me, I was no good. I just had a lot of enthusiasm, which you've seen firsthand, so you know what I mean. I had a lot of enthusiasm. A lot of guys who were older than me used me in their student recitals. And so by the end of my first semester, I had a stack of these student recital flyers that I had appeared in. And so based on that and my grades and whatever, they extended my scholarship for the full length of my 4-year stay. So that was enough to convince my parents to let me stay. And once I got my foot in, that was it. I was around a bunch of great musicians, all of whom were better than me, because I just hadn't had that experience. If I had another year or two in high school, I would have had more private lessons, more stuff. I just was, I was inexperienced and whatever. But like I said, I was a quick study, and I worked hard. When I was living in Baton Rouge, you could come by my house at 1 a.m. and find me in the music room with my guitar with little Mark sleeping at my feet.
Well, that's right.
and me
playing guitar. Hey, bro, that's a common thread. That's a common thread, and I want you to kind of expound on that. See, because people think it's just because you were talented.
Right.
People think these things happen by osmosis.
Well, here's the thing, and humility is a funny thing. It doesn't take much. As a traveling musician, you get, especially when early on in my career, I was like, oh man, I'm doing something now, but I wish I had Roland or Donald or Troy, somebody sitting there with me. There were many times we would show up in in Cleveland or Detroit or Salt Lake City or someplace, and some dude in a FedEx uniform would come in and pick up a guitar and play some great. You're like, whoa, like talent is everywhere.
Talent is
everyone that I meet is talented in some way. And so what I realized right away was the only way I was going to get from A to B, which is A, where I was, and B, to the point where I was good enough to be confident that I could stand up with my guitar and entertain anyone, anywhere, was if I worked really hard. And for me, it was easy because I loved to practice. For me, practicing was as fun as doing a show. Because,
I know. I've watched you practice. It's fun to watch.
And so I'm fortunate that because I think for people, if you have a problem, devoting yourself to practicing or working on your craft, then you're gonna reach your ceiling pretty quickly, because talent will only get you so far. You'll always improve, but it's how fast you want to improve. And I was inspired by all of you great musicians that I was around. And we were all talented, and everyone could do. We all had strengths that other people didn't have. Like, you could do things I couldn't do, vice versa. And so I knew that to make up that ground, I was going to have to work hard, and I wasn't trying to wait my turn. I wanted to be great. I wanted to be great tomorrow.
Right now.
I wanted to wake up tomorrow and have the whole world different. So, I remember George Benson said about me once. He said, "Well, I knew I didn't have to worry about Mark, because if he was driving down the highway and got a flat tire, he'd just pull over and start practicing and wait for somebody else to come along and change his tire." So he was kind of right about that.
Slow that down a little bit. Hey, slow it down. So for y'all, he talked. See, Mark will drop stuff, and he got to make him back up. Oh, you freeze. You just froze. Hold on. Don't say it. Don't say it. Wait. Let me see when you back. Now, who told you that?
Yeah. Okay. What was that?
Who told you that?
George Benson. Yeah,
there you go.
Well, I met George. I met George in September of 1987. So I graduated from Berklee in May of '87, and I moved to New York. And I immediately started working with a band. We played the late night jam session at the Blue Note. The Blue Note, was the world's greatest destination for jazz. Great club, the whole thing. But they had a late night session from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. Tuesday through Sunday. And I played there with 3 other guys, and we made $15 a piece.
Talk about that. Talk
So
about that.
yeah, so
$15 in New York.
that $15 was just enough to pay for the Subway and a hot dog,
Right.
and a
Because in
Coca-Cola at the
'87,
bar.
right? Because in
So I had a
'87,
day job.
I,
This is '87.
a combo meal was like $12 in
Yeah,
'87
and I, listen, I was about to spend my whole
in New York.
$15 in a combo meal in New
In
York,
New
of
York, it
course.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, now a combo meal is $28.
Oh
It's
my
cheaper to
God.
it's cheaper to go for a sushi dinner than it is to go to McDonald's here now. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so I had a little raggedy car which is why I was so proud of my Pathfinder when I bought it. I had a little raggedy car that I got at the auction for $300, and I remember telling this story the other day. I had New York in the '80s. It's been well documented by Hollywood that it was the crack '80s were everywhere, and it was horrible in the neighborhood, but there were some really great benefits on the side. One of them was you could get a crackhead to do anything. And so I bought this really great.
Anything.
Yeah, I bought like a 1978 Buick Scarlet. It was clean, but the transmission was toe up. And I bought it at an auction, and the transmission died in 10 days. So this guy on the corner,
10 days.
like this guy, I mean, straight up crack. I can't remember his name. I can still see his face. So he's like, hey man, for $25 I can fix your transmission. And I was like, man, you know what? I've been working at I have a day job, but I got cash to spare. I want to see if you can actually fix my transmission for $25.
For $25.
So he needed $10 up front. So I was like, it's worth the gamble. So I gave him $10. He got a shopping cart, went to a junkyard, found a comparable General Motors transmission from probably a Nova, something he could get, gave the guy $5 at the door, at the gate,
Right.
ripped it. Brought it back to my block, put my car up on cinder blocks in front of my house on Adelphi Street in Brooklyn, and stayed out there all day Saturday and fixed my transmission. But here was the catch, right?
What?
When it was done, he said, oh man, I forgot to get the cable, because that was an automatic transmission, but it had a shifter on the floor.
Yeah. And the cable runs all into the...
And he said, I forgot to get the cable that connects the shifter. And the look on his face was like, but brother, this was a one-time thing. Like tomorrow I may be an Iowa
right.
tomorrow. Like I don't know, I'm here, I'm gone. So what I did was I rigged your whole steering column. So I had to turn the thing from park to reverse to neutral to drive.
Oh, so you that's how you did.
So okay.
Oh my. So how did that work on dates?
Well, so here you go. See you great minds, right? So now, all right, so now I'm playing at the Blues the next night, but I'm flossing because I got my ride, right?
Oh yeah.
So we get in the car, we pull up.
Pretty and cocky.
The Minetta, pretty and cocky, right? So the Minetta Lane garage is still there. Your brothers, and up until a few years ago, one of the brothers that was there this night still remembered it. I pulled up, we got out the car, turned the car off, and I flipped through the guy my keys. He got in, he was like, hey, man.
Hold on, baby.
Hey, bro, it's like Orwell. I said, hold on, baby. You gotta turn the thing. And just man, when I said that, everything stopped. Man, even the crackheads were like, everybody was on there. The guy, the garage attendant had tears in his eyes. They hold on, park, reverse, neutral, reverse. Man, I could have died. But Donald Harrison was with me the next day, and he said, "Man, a raggedy ride beats a dressed up walk. Can you drive me to the Village Gate?" You know what I mean? And so, like, we did what we had to do to make and I never forget. A few weeks later,
yeah, you broke up after.
Enthusiastic young musician. Oh, sorry. So I met George Benson, during that time.
Okay, you said a few weeks later.
In those coming weeks, yeah, and he was there. The Blue Note was having its annual anniversary celebration for that location, and it was being hosted by the great Billy Eckstine. He was there with his band, and Billy Eckstine's guests that night were Tony Bennett and Sarah Vaughan.
Wow!
And so the late night band, we had the responsibility of entertaining the crowd when they would change
Yeah.
change over the band, have guests come, the whole thing. And so I'm just kind of sitting there like, oh my God, I'm actually set. First of all, that's Billy Eckstine. And that's Sarah Vaughan, and that's Tony, like,
Right.
you know, and that's the first night I met Henry Butler, because Henry Butler sat in that night. And so, and then the club owner says, man, George Benson is here. And then I damn near died, right? And so,
Right.
and he's like, but he doesn't have his guitar. We'd like him to play. Do you mind if he plays your guitar? And I was like, of course not, but please introduce me to him, right? So they introduced me to George, and he looks at my guitar, and I had, at the time, I still have it, actually, one of the rare Ibanez lawsuit models from the 70s. And so George saw it, he said, say, brother, if they want to see one of these guitars, I buy it. And I said, but man, you can't have my guitar. Wait a minute, how much will you give me for it?
How much? How much?
How much? How much? So anyway, so he played. It was amazing, you know. And then afterwards, I had to go on stage and play. So he stopped and said, "Well, listen, man, I would love to hear you play, but I have another engagement. I'll get back to hear you some other time." And he split. So I went on stage and played. You know, I probably played better than I played in weeks, because the pressure was off. George is gone. You know, all that adrenaline gone and no pressure because he's gone. Man, he was standing by the door watching me the whole time. He didn't leave. He just didn't want me, the 20-year-old kid, to be nervous. So he watched me play. And then he left a note that he liked my plan and he would come back to see me sometime soon. And so, man, I must have been floating on air for 2 or 3 days. 1 week, exactly 1 week later, he was back there again, sat with a crew of friends. He brought Bob James, and they came and they sat. Bob James was playing, and we played after Bob James. He came to see Bob James and stayed and sat right in front of him. And so that night he said, "Well, listen, man, I'm getting ready to go on tour, but when I get back, I'm going to take you uptown. I need you to meet Jack McDuff so you can get in his band, because what you're doing is good. But you need to play with some older guys who can help you hone your skills, and so that you have an idea of where you need to get to, so that you can grow to the musician I can see you really want to be." So he said, "I'll be back in a couple of weeks," but man, I couldn't wait a couple of weeks. The next day, I was on the phone finding out where Jack McDuff was playing, and I went up to Harlem and introduced myself. And McDuff, I love McDuff. God rest his soul, but he was a gruff dude, as his name would suggest. And he said, "Well, listen here, man, can you read?" And I said, "Well, sure, I went to Berkeley." He's like, "Oh, you went to Berkeley? Well, I don't think I can read." I was like, "Come on." And I was like,
"Come on, man, he trying to shut you up."
But but I was like, "Man, but listen, I love your, I got to know all your records." And he's like, "Well, okay. Well, listen here, I got all this music that he had a stack, he had a book, of over 100 charts he'd written, excuse me, that were part of the band's repertoire." Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. I'm the only man in the house with a summer cold, but sorry. And he said, "But you have to be able to read to be in the band, but a lot of the stuff someone has to teach you. I don't feel like teaching you. So if the saxophone player will teach you this stuff, then you can be in the band." I was like, "Saxophone player? Who's that?" So I called the saxophone player from Jack's apartment. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm that kid that was down there bugging y'all last night at the gig. I would really like to be in the band." And Andrew Beals, God bless him, he said, "Well, man, I live in Brooklyn. Just come on over and, and I'll teach you the music." The guitar player was quitting, and I guess he figured if he taught me music, that was his way of knowing that the next guy was going to be okay for the band, So I left my apartment in Brooklyn, taking the train for an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half to get to Jack's apartment in Harlem. Now I was taking the train all the way to Greenpoint, back to another hour and a half to go learn the music. This is one day, right? So he taught me the music. We went through all the music, and he called Jack and said, "Okay, he's ready." And so I started playing with the band the next night, that Thursday night. And I heard you, when I was trying to get in on your conversation, I heard you talk about you started out doing 4-hour gigs. Man, my first 6 months with Jack, we only did gigs that were 3 1.5-hour sets. So we would play from 10 to 11:30,
Right.
12 to 1:30, and
Right.
2 to 3:30.
Bruh. Bruh.
Ah,
Man, with the Zydeco joints, bro, with the Zydeco
woo!
joints, bro,
Yeah.
we were playing 4 hours straight, no break.
Woo! Man. Yeah, I mean,
4 hours
I don't know
straight.
what's worse. Having to take a break and start over, or just playing
Oh, the
nonstop.
break is definitely worse. Oh, the
Yeah,
break is
right.
definitely worse.
Because all your momentum is gone, you know, and
You
so
get cold. You get
oh man.
cold.
Plus, you know, these kind of joints I was playing with McDuff. Um, yeah, so
Hey, they were a little bit more, just a little bit more than $15.
yeah, like you know, and so after my first couple, you know, my first 3 or 4 weeks with the band, it was time to go on the road. So our first gig was in Minneapolis. And this is November, right? So we're now going, we're going to drive from Harlem, USA to Minneapolis, which was a grip
Okay,
of a drive, right? I
that's a
mean, you
that's a
know,
drive.
right? You know, there's 5 guys in a small Ford Aerostar
Oh
with
no!
with a drum
So
with
who's
right.
sitting in the middle? Who's
Yeah,
sitting in the middle in the back?
so Jack or his tour manager was also the singer, the great guy Johnny Lambert. They would drive or they had you know that first bench. Those were the comfort seats, right? And either you were
Right.
driving or you could lay down in the middle bench. The saxophone player Andrew he wrote shotgun. Uh, uh, the drummer Rudy Petschauer, God bless him, one of the most eccentric but most beautiful people I ever met. His spot was he slept on the floor between the rear benches. He had a whole
Yes.
little campsite down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
had the rear bench. Okay, I suppose, right? So that's fine. But the van was only 2 years old. It already had 70,000 miles on it. And I did mention it was a Ford from the 80s, right? So
Yeah. Fix or repair daily.
yes. So daily meant the following day the transmission died. You're sensing a lot of transmissions in my life, right?
Right. Right. You got something with transmission. Something with transmission.
So the transmission died the following day in South Bend, Indiana. So we're now 16 hours away from Minneapolis. And I wake up to this horrible smell and, you know, green smoke and whatever. The transmission's dead, which would have been fine, except that this was Thursday, and the coming Saturday was Notre Dame versus Penn State, and South Bend is Notre
Oh.
Dame, and it was home game. So
Yeah.
there was not a rental van available for 200 square miles, right? And this
Right.
is
Right. Right.
pre-internet. This is pre-cell phone. So now we're at Amco or some local transmission shop we're all at payphones with yellow pages trying to
Yep.
find
Yellow
a
pages.
rental car, right? So
Oh
I
my
find,
God.
so I, me, right, the new guy in the band, I find the only rental vehicle available. It was a Pontiac Grand Am, which in 1980,
Oh.
right, which 1988 was a
What that
Toyota
mean?
Tercel, right? It had
About that
four
big.
doors, but it was this big. So that is five. And so to make matters worse, George Benson had just given me a brand new amplifier. So, you know, and I practically slept with this amplifier in my bed. Like, you know, I'd be like,
Yeah.
I had my guitar in my hand. You know, this was my thing. So there was no room in the Grand
For your
Am
amplifier.
for the amp or for the drum set. So I had to leave my new amp and the drum set at the transmission shop with the van. And then get in the Grand Am, 5 guys, guitar, saxophone, and luggage, and drive for 13, 14, 15 hours straight to Minneapolis. We arrived at the old Artist Quarter on Nicollet Avenue in Minneapolis at 10 o'clock, and we started playing the first of our 3 1.5-hour sets at 10:30. We got
Wow.
changed in the men's room that I don't even think the door locked. Like, I'm pretty sure there wasn't a mirror.
Right.
It
Right.
might not have
Right.
been hot water. That was my first
Man.
road gig. I was like, I have arrived.
Well, see, the thing is, if you survive that,
What?
everything else is
Everything else was jazz world. You there? Did I lose you?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Just to remind you the irony of the jazz world. So just when I'm thinking, man, life couldn't get any worse. I look up in the audience, and you know who's sitting there? Steve
George.
Miller. The
Oh,
Steve Miller
from Steve
Band,
Miller
because
Band.
they lived there. They were at the club
And
because they were Jack McDuff fans. So now, I've just traveled, I've just lived, lived Homer's The Odyssey, to get to Minneapolis to play a gig. And I can barely keep my eyes open. I open my eyes and there's Steve Miller.
Steve
I
Miller.
was like,
Hey,
wow.
I
Hey.
did. I covered Abracadabra on my new CD, bro.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
Oh, I mean,
so Steve Miller.
his entire catalog is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've always
Oh,
loved it, and I've always thought that it could be a great Zydeco song. So I hooked it up.
yeah.
I
Well,
hooked it
I
up.
look forward to hearing it. That's what's up. That's
Yeah.
deep. So
So okay. So go ahead. Go ahead.
so anyway, I that week I remember we did I remember doing a benefit at a halfway house for a woman who used to be married to Ray Charles, who was like a home for wayward girls, and like there was all of these sorts of crossover. There was the Chitlin circuit of kind of raggedy clubs, but it was celebrities and great musicians and all these things. I realized I was about to embark on a journey that was going to allow me to see things most people just would never see. And
Bro,
I
yeah.
understand, and so that began. So all of a sudden, my drive and my motivation to pursue this life was not only reinvigorated, but it was turbocharged. Because now I
Right.
realize, okay, there's a reason why people go through what we go through, because of the rewards. It's not just why I played a great solo or wrote a great song, or it's that time I got to play with Quincy Jones in Montreux, and I sat in a hotel suite with Oprah Winfrey. And it's the time, the time I got to stand next to George Benson and Rochelle Farrell, and Shaka Khan while they sang Moody's Mood for Love, or that time,
Right.
and that was my first year, and so.
Does your wait? So all of that happened
All the
your
things I
first
just
year?
said happened the year I toured for my first record. That was the summer of
Wow.
1990. Me, Roland Garrett, and Brian Blade went on the road, and I got a
Yeah.
call to be a guest for Quincy Jones at Montreux, and so in Switzerland I went, and that was the deal. I played a couple of songs. And exactly George Benson made it happen. He had me as a guest, and so when I started to think about some of the things that I get to do, and some of the things that I had to do to make it possible, it is kind of an interesting journey, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Wouldn't trade it for that's the hook.
It's exactly it. And we've all been around those celebrities. I can still remember seeing George Benson. We were out months later or years later, hanging out at the Blue Note. And we came out, and George always drove Rolls Royce, still does. And so he comes outside, he's got, his custom tailored suit on, the whole thing. And we walk over to his car. He gets in, and I, take off, go to get I come around the block in my car, and when I come around, I see George. He's got the hood up, and he's got his and
On a Bentley.
on his Bentley. And I stopped hey, we'll call him GB. Hey, GB, you good? He was like, brother, my fan belting come off the car, and I was thinking to myself, Bentley's have fan belts?
Bentley?
Hey, what do I do, right? So I said,
Right.
And this is, the innocent kid in me. I was like, oh, well, I have a AAA thing. Like, it's George Benson. Like he couldn't afford a mechanic. I was like, oh,
hey.
Get my AAA card. He was like, brother, hold on. He's like, I have 18 karat gold engine parts. I don't let anybody touch my car. And I was like, oh. I see what you
18
mean.
karat gold engine part.
Like, okay, yeah. And I stood there and held the flashlight while he flipped the fan belt on his own Bentley.
That's crazy. Dude.
So
but think about it though. You never would have gotten that. You never would have gotten that opportunity.
No. If he cut himself while he was fixing his Bentley.
He cut himself.
I said, if I had gone to medical school, the best I could have done was been admitted him into the ER if he cut himself while fixing his fan valve.
Exactly, exactly.
So yeah, I wouldn't
So,
trade my journey for the
so
world.
yeah, man, because I think about that as well. Because like, first of all, I wouldn't know you. I had to make that same kind of deal with my dad when I
Uh-huh.
was at school,
Right.
because I went to LSU and my grades weren't the best because I hung out a lot. If you can imagine that.
No, I can't really see that. That must have been a different
And
show. Excuse me for a
no,
second.
it
Sorry.
was
Hold on one second. Hold on a second.
yeah. Go ahead. So I went to LSU and my grades were horrible, horrible. Had all my first failures in life happened when I was 18 years old. It was crazy. But my dad was like, at the end of 2 semesters, he was like, listen, I'm not paying for these grades. And so I was like, okay, so look, I'll make a deal with you. You give me what it would cost to go to McNeese, and I'll foot the bill for the rest of it to go to LSU, because I'm not going to go to LSU. And he was like, yeah, sweet. So now the only problem with that is that I didn't negotiate for the cost of living increase. So every year after I made that deal with my dad, LSU's tuition went up and it went up and it went up and it went up. Ridiculous. So I'm sitting there, I'm in the hole, and I'm always come up short at the end of
Hold
the
on.
semester.
That deal is amazing. I never knew that.
Yeah, man.
See,
I made that
that's the
deal.
Sean I know. You're like, okay, well, you know what though? I'm not going down. Like, I'm gonna make this happen.
I'm gonna make it happen. So
Right.
I was playing Zydeco music. I was in LSU's band. I worked at the Broussard cafeteria, and I worked in catering. And to this day, I can't figure out how I did all of that. I don't even know how.
Because we never slept.
Well, that too.
Yeah, we
That
just had.
too.
I mean, come on. That's why
But
I
no,
see
but
these kids
just
now. They're like, I'm tired, but you're tired.
you what? I mean, but like logistically speaking, Zydeco
Yeah,
happens
I
on the
feel you.
weekend.
It didn't even make
LSU's
sense.
back.
Right.
LSU stuff plays on the weekend, but I
Right.
gave up all the Mississippi trips, and for some reason with the away games, I didn't get picked on some of the away games, so I gave it away, and so
Right.
it ended up working out.
Right.
But now here's a blast from the past. From the which CD was that? I think it was Mark Whitfield, the self-titled, the one that I went to. Me and George drove up to New York.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
That's
so quick story.
Yeah.
Quick story. So we all kicking it, and then Mark goes back. He moves back to New York. He's doing his thing. He's kicking it. They're rolling. And so my roommate George Fontenette, he says, "Hey man, Mark says if we go to New York, that he'll let me sit in, and it's at the Blue Note."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, what does that mean?" He says, "You want to drive with me?" And I was like, yeah, let's go. I mean, but in my mind, I'm like, but George, I say, bro, for real, are we gonna drive all the way up there and you not gonna get on stage, bro? He says, nah, man, I'm serious, bro. He said he's gonna let me play.
Right.
I said, well, if you want to do it, bro, I'm with you. And
Right.
we got on the road, man.
Woo! What car were y'all driving?
I'm trying to see if we probably drove mine, because George didn't have a car at that point, I don't think.
Yeah. Okay.
Did we might have rented a car. You know what? I don't remember.
Yeah.
I might have to ask him. I just sent him the live. I don't know if he's gonna get it or not. But anyway, so we drive all the way up there. So I'm thinking, the Blue Note, it's the world famous Blue Note. I'm all excited. And man, we get there and the place is a Matchbox.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? I'm coming from a Louisiana point of view. And I'm thinking
Madison Square Garden, right.
I'm thinking at least, a 500-600 seat place, nice. Bruh. We walk in there
like sardines, right? Exactly.
Yeah, we get in there. I was like, wow. I looked at the cover. The cover charge was like what, $30, $40, something like that.
Oh, probably $50. Yeah, sure.
Back then, And I was like, whew, boy, it's a good thing we know Mark, because we wouldn't be going to see this show. So that's whenever so you had Trump player from Dallas.
Was that Roy Hargrove?
Roy Hargrove was sitting in with you too.
Right.
And so I remember we hung out at the restaurant across the street or something, ate breakfast afterwards.
Right.
You know, that was fine. But anyway, long story short, we drove up there, and George Fontenette did get to play on stage at the Blue Note with the Mark Whitfield group.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
And George killed it. And then I remember, I started hiring him to play with me.
Yes, and which brings me to this. Remember whenever we y'all were recording at the same time. So I got to watch that. I'll never forget it. I watched Troy Davis on drums knock the drums out of tune, like after every song. I watched Carey.
Mark Carey, that's right.
I watched Mark Carey knock a piano out of tune 3 times.
Right. That's right.
Playing like super fast. I mean, it was amazing.
Right, we were recording the Salvation of MRT. That's right.
Salvation of MRT.
That's right. Wow. Man, you was
yeah.
Woo! That's my third Warner Brothers record. That's crazy.
Hey, bro, it was fun. It was phenomenal. Troy, that was whenever I changed the way I played drums, because Troy told me that Max Roach told him how to set up his drums ergonomically.
Right.
So I went from playing like this, to then sitting on top of the drums to where I could hit everything with low motion. It changed the way I played. It changed everything. It made me more effective. I didn't get tired. It was beautiful.
Right.
But that CD, remember, I was supposed to go on the road singing it with you. Remember? I was supposed to record it. I was supposed to sing with you on the CD.
Oh,
remember?
Wow.
But what's dude's name that you got?
Chris Walker.
I just met Chris Walker on my birthday.
Wow, that's right, Sean.
Yeah,
wow, you really taking me back. Chris Walker was hot, and
yes,
he just put a single out, and his record blew up.
So, right, and Warner Brothers wanted Chris Walker instead of Sean Ordwin.
Right, well, yeah,
and I'm cool with it.
Anybody, right? Chris Walker, he produced a couple of songs, including the one that he sang on, and he got Lisa Fisher, because Lisa Fisher was his girlfriend at the time, to sing on the record, and that was how I met Lisa.
Yeah, man. And that's amazing.
Close.
I was that close, dude. Because at the time,
Warner Brothers debut, bro, I had it going.
At the time, I wanted to be a singer at the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can
because I wasn't pushing the Zydeco thing as hard. I was playing it, but I hadn't got the revelation that I was in school to have a career, and I already had a family business and a career. If I just put everything into that, then I'll be okay.
Right.
And shortly after that, George and Donald and everybody, we all got together. They was like, yo, if we're going to be serious, Mark is telling us this, Troy's telling us this, look, we got to go to New York where everything is popping. Right. And that was in 93.
Right.
And into 94. And my girlfriend at the time was pregnant with Lil Sean. And so I said, you know what? I said, I could go and do that. But at the end of the day, I said, I believe I should stay with the culture and with the family because it's already there.
Well, you already had something, right?
Right.
You just had to grow into that and take it to the next level.
But I wanted so badly to go to that other level, with the other kind of music. But then I thought about it and I was like, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. This is where I am. This is, I'm gonna go rock with this.
Yeah.
Because we have been trying to
I feel like you made there's no right or wrong choice, but you made a good choice because you clearly had something to offer that was going, because of your interest and your exposure to other kinds of music, you were going to bring something different into which was really what the culture of Zydeco music was all about. It's about amalgamation of different cultures into one thing that grew into
popular music. Style. Popular music at large is the same way. Yes.
Oh, of course it is. Right.
Yes.
So ultimately, I think time has shown that the wisdom was in doing just that. But at the
Yes, yes.
time,
Oh
you
no!
some
At the
exuberance was
time,
like, man, I'm going. Where they going? I'm going.
at the time, bro, I was so swole. I was like,
Yeah, I feel you.
now it's like, wait, did it freeze? Did it freeze? Okay, we back. Then after I made my choice, though, I was
Yeah, we
good.
back.
I was like, okay. And then when
Yeah,
George started doing the Burger King commercials, and he was doing all those
right,
commercials, and you
right.
know what I'm saying, he was
George
doing
was riding high.
all this
I
stuff.
cannot. I remember, what happened, and I was so happy. One of the things, I didn't really know about George's his affinity for playing for keyboards and writing and producing all that. I just knew he played trumpet. I had no idea he had
Oh
downloaded
no, no,
all
no. Well, let me tell you, bro. The reason I got you on here, bro, is because first of all, you got that grind, of course,
Right.
and I want people to hear your story, and I want to expose my people to your people, and then if you share this with your people, then your people will see us or whatever.
Right.
But man, that time in my life was so pivotal because I was around people who were grinding.
Right.
Y'all's work ethic and y'all's shed ethic was ridiculous. I didn't have that. I still don't have that. I got the work ethic.
Right.
I just don't
right,
have
right.
the shed. But because my personality is such that I need to be around people. I need to be on stage.
Right. You weren't trying to be in that
back
room with your drums by yourself all day. Yeah.
No.
Right.
Now, it's not that I can't do it. It's just that when I do it, it don't work for me.
You got to do what makes you happy.
Got to do what makes me happy. So, but that's what gave me the ability to think outside the box, and it also gave me that drive, and it also taught me how to do things on a whole nother level. Because whenever I would do stuff, with the Zydeco bands, they would look at me crazy, like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm doing something that I want you to like, and I'm trying to make this thing better and bigger." So but that and it all manifests today. It took a minute, but I stayed with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
But Chris Walker, bro, I talked to Chris Walker.
Yeah, man, that dude, I forgot, man. So you met him when you first. Where were you?
I was in Houston, man. The AK. We were. We had a cheap room. Yeah, we had a cheap room, and his brother has the hottest cover band in Houston. One of the hottest cover bands in Houston. Yeah. And so he was singing with his brother, and they were like the sound. I know the sound guys, and they were like, "Oh, that's Chris Walker." And I was like, "You mean the dude that beat me off my Warner Brothers debut?"
You think I can see him out back right quick?
Yeah. Hey, come see, buddy. Come see, buddy.
I got something for you. Yeah.
Right. Nah, but again, whenever you
of a guy too, man. I just saw him. I saw him last year I saw him 2 years ago at Al Jarreau, or 3 years ago now. And we, I text him every once in a while. Man, he's had a great run. But,
yeah, that's what he told me. He said, I've been running Al Jarreau's band for a while. I was like,
yeah, he was Al's MD for 20 years.
Yeah. Right. So I said, well, there's a hole. He said, I'm about to do a tour. I said, perfect. Then everything is right with the world. Right. But whenever I heard him sing, I was like, that made sense.
Yeah. That brother can sing now. Woo, that brother can sing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But it's funny. That brother can sing. It wasn't. It may have been that gig that you and George drove to New York. There was a young lady who worked for Billboard magazine. Because it's hard for most people to imagine now a time when all information was in print, not on your screen. Everything you wanted to know, you had to read, and so you had to buy a publication and read it. So this woman, she worked for Billboard magazine, and she was friends with my dude Joe Grant at Warner Brothers, who had gone to Berkeley, who was like one of the junior A&R guy and a promo guy. And so she took me on as kind of a personal project to get me, and she knew that the music we were playing in terms of was not going to be that commercially viable, but we were young, young brothers trying to play music and trying to do other things, and so she took
time. So go back. She said the music wasn't commercially viable.
In and of itself, standing on its own was not commercially viable. We weren't even playing commercially commercial jazz at that point. But
right.
She knew that there were interesting projects that we could cross into, and just the fact of who we were and what we were trying to do at the time, the whole idea of it was a package she could sell, and she just believed in all of us, I introduced George, when I found out about George was trying to write, I introduced her to George. And she was the first one to help to get him some gigs, doing commercials.
Wait, what was her name?
I'm drawing a blank, man. I'm looking right at her, and she was so amazing. I'm drawing a blank. I'm looking right at her.
Yeah, because I remember her.
Man, oh man, I wish I hope if she somehow hears this, I love you. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. She was so amazing. I haven't seen her. I haven't seen her in more than 25 years.
But hey, the thing about George, you say you didn't know he played keys. He didn't, bro. That's what I'm saying. We were in such a grind mode. And I like the time me and George had, because we just talk and bounce and fight, mentally joust all the time, over and over. Right. And the biggest thing, what that makes me do is that makes me look at big picture stuff and figure out where I fit.
Baptiste, her name Baptiste. Her last name was Baptiste. Suzanne. It was Suzanne Baptiste. That was Suzanne. Shout out to Suzanne Baptiste. Oh my God.
That's good. That's a good save. That's a good save.
Yeah. Oh, I was feeling bad not remembering her name, because she was
that's a good save.
Awesome. She had our best. Suzanne Baptiste. Anyway.
Yep. So George, I remember George. This was before the producer thing where it was easy. So he bought the JV 2000.
Right.
The Roland JV 2000, and I mean, stayed in that room, read the book, learned everything. We started doing tracks. You know, I was messing with the little the other ones that they would have, these little bootleg studios or whatever. And then he decided he was gonna go for that instead of for jazz. He was gonna play jazz to make money, but he wanted to go and make the money in the production side.
Yeah, well,
which is
so hold on. We're having difficulties here. Hold on here, brother. Sorry. All right.
Yeah, I still hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you know, George, and that was the other thing that I was glad that I was able to get him to come to New York, because, you know, that was important for me too. All of a sudden, you realize there are all these guys. You know, everybody's talented. And everybody's got a thing that they do. But sometimes you see a guy like, you know, when I met Roy Hargrove and Chris McBride, they were each 16 years old, and I'm 4 or 5 years older than both of them.
At least just 4. Yeah.
I think I'm 4 years older than Roy, or 5 older than McBride, whatever. You know, but I mean, it was clear that they were talented way beyond anybody else I'd ever met. I hadn't met anybody that talented again until I met Nicholas Payton. I just was like, you know, and so like I couldn't even conceive of some of the things that I saw them working on doing with their music. Like, I didn't even know how to do that, you know, and I was pretty good, you know, for George, it was a great thing, because I remember George came and we played at a club, a place called Trumpets in New Jersey, and George was playing in my band at that point, and Wallace Roney came out that night. Wallace and Jerry Allen, they were still married. They came together, and Wallace sat in, and George, you know, I mean, Wallace is the great Wallace Roney, but George put a little heat on him, like he, you know, George was really coming on. But he recognized that there were, at that time, there were probably 25 or 30
trumpet players,
really good young jazz trumpet players, and he was just gonna be in. You know, even if he did really well, the best he could hope to do was be in the fray. He's like, you know what? Let me try. There's got to be a way I can play trumpet and do my thing and do all that, and also carve out a niche for myself so I can have a career and have a family and have a life. And that, you know, and that's something you don't necessarily know until you stand up next to all others. I was just fortunate that when I moved back to New York after going to college, before I moved to Louisiana, you know, there were no guitar players my age here. It was me, Peter Bernstein, and Freddie Bryant. 3 guys. You know, I mean, Rodney Jones and Bobby Broom, they were older and established and doing it.
And what about the Brown cat? What's the last name? Brown? Marcus Brown?
Norman Brown. He hadn't hit the scene yet.
Yeah, Norman Brown was coming
around yet, you know, and so and even when he did come out, he was he didn't come to New York. He was, you know, but a few years later, Russell Malone came to town. But there was, it was never more than a hand. But there's plenty of guitar players like this, David Gilmour Adam Rogers, and others, brilliant guitar players. But there was never more than a few guys I had to share gigs with. So I knew I could, I was like, I'm gonna be okay. I can make it. But man, if I had showed up here and everywhere I looked there was another jazz guitar player, I was like, I'm going back to med school.
I'm going back to med school.
I'm gonna be starving,
right?
Even if everybody does well, there's just not. I mean, you saw how big the Blue Note was. The Blue Note was toward it's just not that many places to play, and so that was also a really smart thing, which is another reason why, the decision you made to continue on the family business, which is really carrying on the legacy of a very important and storied tradition in American musical history. Because if you had moved to New York and jumped off with a singing group or gotten hooked up, I mean, listen, Suzanne could introduce you to Teddy Riley. She was down with all of them. Like, I know. You could have gotten into something that might have lasted 5 years. Right.
And I'd have been famous, and the money would have dried up.
And where's Keith Sweat now?
No. Keith Sweat is the wrong one. Keith Sweat is he rolling? Keith Sweat he never stopped gigging. He's like one of the richest dudes.
All right, well there you go. Maybe that's not the right example. But
say the third member of Blackstreet. Hey, yes. Yeah, hey, Mark.
Man. Okay. So one of the many gigs
he got a syndicated radio show, Mark. He got a syndicated radio show.
You know what? He was a hustler. I shouldn't be surprised.
Oh yeah.
One of the many side gigs I did along the way was I played guitar in the house band at the Apollo Theater.
Yes, I remember seeing you on that.
For about 8 months or so, and he would show up and and do guest spots, and he was always really cool. And I remember hearing him talking, I remember him saying that I think he worked at the phone company, and that I think it was the phone.
I don't remember.
I remember him saying he was a phone company, whatever it was. He kept his job even while his first hit was on the radio. He was like, just in case it didn't. You know what I mean? He's a smart
just in case it didn't work.
But you were tied into you were tied into a tradition where your future, all you had to do was stay on your game, and your future was you were part of something big, and that's way more important than a moment in the sun.
Yeah, it really is, man. And I've come to realize that because once you get to 40, then legacy becomes really important.
Yeah. Hey, I think I see Jeff Watson's name on here. We got to shout out to Tane this one. The world's greatest drummer, Jeff Tane Watson's watching us. What's up, Tane?
I think that's is he? I think that's Jeff Simon, guitar player.
No, I see Jeff Watts right here on my screen.
Oh wait, I don't see it. Well, hey, what's up, Tane?
Right, man. You got to work on your screen.
Look, you know what I'm saying? What's up, Tane? We got Tane, one of the best drummers ever.
Man, look, it's funny. I play with Tane whenever he'll have me, and so we're doing something together at Jenny's in Harlem on September. I want to say September 3rd, 28th. It's a Friday, something like that. The last Friday in September. So if you guys are anybody in New York, come see me and Jeff Watson. Too cold, there he is. And
Too cold.
And the great James Genus will be playing bass with us, playing trio.
Wow. Yeah, okay, so look, we got started late, so that's why we're running over.
Right, sure. Because I talk, I talk forever, so just. Yeah.
No, me and you. See, we get together.
Yes,
and we have the way it has to break down is one of our wives has to go, hey,
right.
Send him a text.
Well, I saw my wife looking. She was looking at the pots in there because I'm cooking.
Oh, you cooking right now?
Yeah. I'm supposed to be cooking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. My bad. Tell her I'm so sorry. We're gonna wrap it up.
She says. She still talks about how y'all showed us a great time down there. Come on, man. We came by.
Yeah, man.
And she got to go to the club and she can see little Chris play. Come on, man.
Yeah. That was fun, man. That was fun.
We had a nice time.
So next time. So now I'm gonna get up there, y'all area, so y'all can see me play, and it's gonna be beautiful.
Man,
so
when are you coming up?
Man, I'm working on that now, bro. I'm working on it now. You know, in this industry, getting a booking agent is a really tricky situation. It's like
Woo! Well, you
if
tell
you
me.
have the gigs on your own, then a
Right.
booking agent wants to come in. Do you give up those
Oh man,
gigs?
Peter
Do you
Montgomery.
give up that
Woo!
percentage?
Jeff
Huh?
Simon.
Peter
Jeff
Montgomery.
Simon, what's up? Hey, hey. Yeah. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cut you off. I realized I didn't shout everybody out. So
No, hey, Marion Pickett said that he knew a guy and you let him play your L5.
oh yeah.
Let me go. Let me go. I can't go back to the comment. But anyway, send him a shout out, Marion Pickett.
Hey
Yeah,
Marion, how you doing, bro? Woo! Go ahead.
yeah, yes,
Look
indeed.
out.
So, Doc, what was I saying? What was I saying?
You were saying if you got the gigs on your own,
Yeah.
try to
So
get
if
booking it.
you
Right.
yeah, you're trying to get a booking. So I'm talking to a
Right.
guy, but you know, and I'm in the middle. It's probably a weird time because he's probably dealing with a whole bunch of gigs that he booked already, making sure his artists are cool. But
Right.
you know, but he said he's interested, so I'm just waiting to. But I'm staying on top of it, you know, to make sure we have the
Right.
conversation. So it's like, so once I get that, everything's going to be cool because, like, you know, you're doing most of your own booking now.
Yeah, and I had been, and I've started working. I'm working with a few different people. I work with Charles Carlini. I've been working
Not exclusive deals.
with Revive Music. Yeah, I mean, you know, booking is difficult.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and I feel like people come. It requires a lot of energy on behalf
Yes.
of a person that you're entrusting to pound the pavement. And so I
Yes.
think people come and go in that arena more often, more regularly than in other capacities. And so,
Right.
you know, when I come in contact with somebody that I trust and respect, I give them a shot. If they want to work, you know,
That's right. That's
we
right.
do the best we can. You know.
That's right. So look,
But
so when we were talking, hey, I thought about this, bro. Check this out. Remember, can you just speak on quickly that point? Because I had my point where I had to make my decision,
right.
right? And whenever we drove to the power station, you were in that area. You were having to make the decision to play real jazz or the other stuff.
Right. Well, you know, as
Which
a
now,
youngster,
the other stuff is real jazz now.
well, I think it's interesting. That's why I'm going to say it's always interesting when you know, for young people, for young musicians, young artists, even, it's easy to look at things in a vacuum because
Yeah, yeah.
we take everything so very
Seriously.
literally
Seriously.
and very seriously, and everything's so
It's got to
literal.
be pure. It's got to be pure.
Well, because I was on the soapbox about everything. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
wear these kind of pants because these kind of pants are the truth, and we don't wear these kind of.
Because we was talking with Winton. We were talking
Right.
with Winton, and
Well,
Winton
I mean, you
said,
know, and even Winton, you know, and Winton's only 5 years older than me, and so
right,
even he had, you know, at that point. I mean, listen, you know, he's a prisoner. You become a prisoner of your own success, you know, because he had a strong conviction. He talked about something. He worked. He made it happen. Then all of a sudden, you're there. Now you may decide you want to try to do something else, but you've talked yourself into a corner, you know. And
right,
so, for me, what became what became way more important than the purity of the statement and the integrity of the music, and which is all very valid in terms of historical relevance. Let's face it. One of the main things that drove the conversation about the African American experience and the purity of jazz was that most of us felt like our heroes weren't getting their just due. That you could go to a concert hall and see some prominent white musicians, but if you wanted to see prominent black musicians, you had to go to a small club. And it wasn't about who was better or who was worse. It just seemed like there was a terrible inequality in the business. And then you'd see some of the prominent musicians, some of the prominent white musicians at the small club checking out. You know, they knew these guys were great, but these guys couldn't get paid. And so the point of that was, you know, from that experience, we all, you know, we were driven to play music and try to shine a spotlight on the people that created this music that we love so much. And I, as a youngster, kind of got lost in that. It took me a long time to find my way into creating music that was just me. So Mark Whitfield has his own music. I don't know whether it's pure or impure or new or other stuff or contemporary. But what I know is it's music that I love to listen to and music that I love to play and that I'm proud to pick up an instrument and present to anyone, anywhere.
And you know what's crazy, Mark? You know what's crazy is that every time I'm talking to an artist, like I had a guy on last week, and me and my little cousin talked a few weeks before that. That's the thing, bro. It's like it takes us a minute as artists to figure out that we should be more concerned with being an artist than being a genre.
Right. But that's a hell of a lot to expect a young person to understand. You know,
And they got some old folks who don't understand that.
Right. And so I give myself a little bit of a pass only because listen, man, I was focused on trying to learn how to play the guitar and trying to write enough songs to make a record that nobody would laugh at. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so that was first. And then after a while, I was like, wait a minute, man. I evolved in the music that I create or that I wanted to create evolved, and my imagination's ear has evolved. But evolution takes time, you know, and so for youngsters, you know, as a young person, it's always good, I think, to pick something and focus on it. Find something, focus on it, and use that as a platform to develop your artistry, your creativity, and to open a portal to your own artistic expression so that you can share that with the world. Yeah. And you hope that what you're doing, you know, that the message in it, whether it's, you know, whatever the soulful message is, that it's received in a way that's strong enough for you to have a career. And then, you know, and that career and that exchange of ideas and the fun in the music and whatever that is continues on so that it affords you the opportunity to evolve. I'm really grateful that almost 30 years later, I'm still having this conversation, making this music, and people still want to hear it. Because you know, for those of us who are still here, there's so many great musicians that I haven't seen or heard from in years. You know, and it's a blessing. However you characterize it, whether it's a blessing or a winning lotto number, whatever it is, I'm really grateful that after all these years, I still love to play music and people still like to hear me play music.
That's the thing, because a lot of musicians get tired, man, and they get frustrated and they give up.
Sure.
And you know, and that's the hardest thing to see, man, is that a musician who's given up. You know, or it's almost as bad for me to see a musician that has given up as it is to see one who doesn't have the drive but has all the giftings in the world.
Yeah, those are two very hard things to watch. Yeah.
That's very hard to watch. And you know, and I reach out and I talk to these young cats. I'm like, listen to me. I need you to focus. I'm telling you what you got. And I say, look, if you keep on the road you're here, you're going to look like this in 10 years. You're going to wake up and you're going to be like, and you're going to be in the same spot.
Right. and it's not going to be cute. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to let you know.
Gonna be pretty.
But I always tell this story, Sean. When I first moved into this neighborhood in Jersey City, I remember I was sitting there and the doorbell rang, and it was the mailman. He was bringing me, I had ordered some equipment. He's bringing me a package. And it was an older guy. And he said, the package for Mark Whitfield. He looked at me and said, wait a minute, are you the guitarist, Mark Whitfield? And I said, yeah, you know, I got all geeked up. Man, the mailman.
Yeah, right.
Woo, right. And he said, you know, Russell Malone lives down the street. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know. And he said, well, he's practicing right now.
Oh!
And I took my package and slammed the door. Screw Russell Malone.
Oh, hey,
I mean,
hey, but
you know, hey.
But what you would do though?
Hey, you know, and so I guess he was like, I don't know what you're doing sitting around in your bathrobe eating Captain Crunch, but the rest, but you better get back on your grind, you know.
Right. Hey, Mark, is your guitar anywhere close, bro? Do you have a guitar anywhere close?
I do.
Could you play like 1 minute?
Sure.
Sure. Play like 1 minute.
Hold on, give me a second.
Yeah, 1 minute, and then we'll give the people some words of bountiful, pretty, and cocky wisdom.
Okay.
to roll out of.
Okay.
And,
Hold on this.
and this is very significant on all things music because I want y'all to understand, and I want y'all to understand the level that we're talking about as far as this guy is concerned. It's amazing. Oh, yep, Jeff, Jeff, you about to play something, Jeff. Get your ears ready, bro. But yeah, man, Mark, it's a beautiful thing, man. I just thank you for coming with us and being on me on all things music with me. We're gonna have to
Oh,
do it again.
I'm just washing my hands. Hold on, man. I can't barbecue something.
Yeah, yeah. See, hey, look, most guitar players would have just picked up the guitar. They don't even understand about the whole oils from your skin messing up your fretboard.
It's funny. I used to, I used to smile when I would go over to George Benson's house and see how, because you just kind of, it's easy to think of your heroes as, they live, in some exalted place where. So, hey,
Now, hey, right quick. Hey, Mark.
huh?
So, what did you say about George Benson at his house?
So I was saying, it's funny. I was telling you. Hold on. Let me make sure I wipe the barbecue, get the barbecue sauce off my hands before I start playing.
Yeah.
It reminded me of my first time going to George's house, and he went to pick up guitar, and he had a piece of chicken. He was like, "Hold on, put the chicken down, get the barbecue." You think, "Wow," and his wife was like, "George, take the trash out." You realize, when you get into the private lives of your heroes, that they're people too. They just.
Yeah, man. Like right now, you got to go cook. So knock this out right quick, and then we let you go, man.
Can you see the guitar? So this is my favorite. This is my Marchione 16-inch Mark Whitfield model. Let's see. Let me see your fingers. Who's that?
Yeah, he said, "Let me see the fingers."
Can you see that? So
Yeah,
here's
we
a
can see
little
it.
blues.
So you did that entire thing with chords.
Yes. I guess I did.
Yeah. And so I could tell what you practicing on.
Right. So that's that.
All right. So sweet. So Mark, words, just a word, a wise word, to take us out, bro.
Um, First of all, one of the things I think we touched on just briefly is you and I are big believers in doing what we love. We're both very fortunate that we are somewhat gifted in doing the things that we love. It's a gift to be able to do what we love, and we're also somewhat talented in that way. It's a sliding scale, being talented, whatever. But I'm a firm believer that hard work and dedication and humility and awareness. Those are the most important ingredients to a successful career and to successful moments. I don't ever want to think of my career or my life as one big statement, because it diminishes the importance and the impact of all those important moments. And the memories that we have, the times we shared together, the things you just reminded me of, like, going to the power station or meeting Suzanne or George standing on stage next to Roy Hargrove. These things, we didn't take anything for granted.
No.
We treated each other with love and respect, which is why we're all still friends and still brothers. Yeah. And we took our enthusiasm with us, and our kind of, in some ways our naivete. We took that with us everywhere, and I feel like it served us pretty well. So, my advice to young people especially is, you don't necessarily have to figure out what you believe in or what you want to do. You just have to choose something.
Hey, Mark. So you said you got to choose something. You froze up. Froze up.
Right. I'm saying. So before you worry about figuring it out, choose something. Start. If you choose something, you go all in. The worst that can happen is, while you're getting really good at that, you're like, wait a minute, I think I want to do that better. You take everything you learned while you're working on that, and then you put it into this. Yeah. And now you got two things. And there's no rule. Nothing says you have to be stagnant or stop at any one place. But I promise you, if you choose something and you put your all into it and work hard at it, you'll reap the benefits, whatever they are.
Yep. And Mark, thank you, man. And look, thank you, because whenever I did my first solo CD, you brought that red guitar.
That's right.
You brought that red guitar with your fancy boutique pedals, the fancy boutique auto Y and all those, Q pedal or whatever that was.
Yep.
You brought all that to the studio in Crowley, Louisiana, and you blessed my first CD. People don't even realize that first CD, there's so much killer guitar player going on that thing. It's phenomenal, bro. And like, cause see, my vision has always been to like take Zydeco and just like, boom. Not that it needed to be lifted.
Stephen Marchioni's on there. Shout out, Stephen. Oh, and Abel Vedi, yo. The guy that made the guitar, Stephen Raphael Marchioni's on there.
Well, all right. All right.
And Abel Vedi, the guy who makes the guitar chefs use, and a young lady named Vanessa Ardwine.
That's my baby. hey, Erica was on a while ago. Hey, Erica was on a while ago. Remember Erica, my sister?
Oh, what?
Yep, she was on a while ago. So yeah, man. So yeah, thank you for that. I'm gonna actually re-release that so that it can be on digital, because and make sure that I do all the Mark Whitfield so that they can find it, because that's something that you did that nobody even knows that you did.
Yeah, right.
That
man, you gotta. I don't have that. You gotta send that to me.
Yeah, I'll send it back to you. But the thing is, I don't know where the masters are, so I can't remaster it. So I got to go with what I got.
Hey, man, go what you got. That's all
but
right.
I'm gonna go with what I got. I'm gonna definitely put it out.
We had a groove for sure. Let's do it.
Man, yeah. So anyway, thank you, man. I know you got to go cook, man.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Peace. Thank you for playing, and everybody who came on. Appreciate y'all for coming. Next Thursday, All Things Music. Sean Hardwine today. Mark Whitfield. Peace, Big Daddy. Love you, man.
Hey, man. Love you, brother. I'll see you soon.
All right, boy.
All right.